Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos are shocking the NFL. The start of the 2024 season has been rough, to say the least, for Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. Many thought that the departure of Russell Wilson would be exactly the change that the team needed to get things back on the right track. They used the 12th overall pick to draft Nix in hopes that he would be able to turn the franchise around. While we are still early in the season, it appears that they completely blundered this draft pick and Nix has looked downright terrible. Today, we will break down how the season has played out for Denver up to this point and speculate how the rest of the year will play out for them, along with what the future may hold for Nix. Scouting report / draft day. Heading into the draft, scouts were very high on Nix. He was ranked as the 6th best quarterback in the draft by NFL.com. In his scouting report covering Nix, NFL analyst Lance Zierlein wrote, "Rare 5-year starting quarterback whose play has matured in front of our eyes. Nix displays the accuracy, arm talent, and athleticism consistent with today's brand of pro quarterback. He can be punctual in getting the ball out at the top of his drop, or he can work through progressions and beat defenses with second reaction plays. He throws with good velocity and puts the ball on the money when throwing on the move. Nix has shown great improvement with his pocket poise. He's capable of moving the sticks as a scrambler or as part of the running game. Some of his gaudy production has been driven by the Oregon offense's design, but his talent clearly stands out. I've harbored bias from watching the overwhelmed version of Nix during his Auburn days, but as the saying goes, tape don't lie. Nix appears more than ready to attack the league with an NFL-caliber skill set. Zierlein projected him to be drafted in the 2nd round and compared him to Tony Romo. With this 2nd-round draft grade, it could appear that the Broncos could have reached a bit. However, he was the 6th quarterback off of the board, with Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Michael Penix Jr., and J.J. McCarthy all being picked in front of him. There is a strong chance that if the Broncos did not select Nix where they did, they would not have gotten him. When you think that you have a prospect that can go on to be a franchise player at that position, you do not let him slip through your fingers. Week 1. The Broncos kicked their season off on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. Denver were heavy underdogs coming into the game, listed as 6-point underdogs. Despite this, many were hopeful that a strong debut from Nix would be able to swing things in the Broncos' favor. Denver's defense had an incredible showing against a very underrated Seahawks offense, forcing 2 safeties. However, Nix greatly struggled to get into a rhythm in this contest. While he was able to find the end zone once, it was on a 4-yard rush, with only 2 minutes left in the game. By this point, the hopes for Denver to make a comeback were all but squandered. When the final whistle sounded, Denver fell by a final score of 26-20. Nix had a very rough showing through the air. While he was able to find the end zone on the ground, his passing was bad even for a rookie. He finished the contest with only 138 yards on 42 passing attempts. To make matters worse, he also threw 2 interceptions. This was far from the debut that Nix or any Broncos fan were hoping for, with him posting a horrendous quarterback rating of 47.5. Week 2. After arguably the worst debut from any rookie quarterback that saw the field in Week 1, many believed that things could not get much worse for Nix in Week 2 when Denver took on the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, while the Steelers have struggled through the early part of the season on offense, there is one thing you cannot take away from them. That being the fact that they have one of the strongest defensive units in the league. Despite this, many still had faith in the rookie out of Oregon, and the Steelers were only favored by 2.5 points. However, it could be argued that Week 2 went even worse than his NFL debut the week prior. Once again, he failed to find the end zone through the air. However, unlike Week 1, Nix was unable to score on the ground. Denver was only able to muster 2 field goals in the 4th quarter, once the game was already all but decided. Despite the sorry showing on the offensive side of the ball, this was still a relatively close game, with the Steelers coming out on top only by a final score of 13-6. Nix greatly struggled through the air, throwing for 246 yards and finishing his 2nd straight game with 2 interceptions. After Week 2 for the rest of the league wrapped up, Nix was tied with Indianapolis Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson for the most picks thrown at 4 each. Week 3. In Week 3, it appeared that Denver was in for another top week. They were facing off against the scorching hot Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who entered the contest still undefeated. The Bucs were favored by 6 points before kickoff, and many expected for the Tampa Bay defense to have a field day with the rookie quarterback. However, he and his Bronco teammates went on to shock the NFL world. Nix scored the first touchdown of the game on a 3-yard rush. While this was his only touchdown of the game, the Denver defense once again carried the team, only giving up 7 points against the dominant Buccaneers offense. When the final whistle sounded, the Broncos held a shocking 26-7 lead. While this was still far from a stellar performance from Nix, it was an enormous step in the right direction compared to his first 2 games in the league. He finished Week 3 with 216 yards through the air and 47 yards and a touchdown on the ground. While these are still below average stats from a starting quarterback, it was by far his best game to date. He had gotten his passes under control and was not baited into an interception even once. Along with this, with one of the league's top defenses to take some of the pressure off of him, it is clear that all he has to do is not put Denver in terrible situations, and the defense will be able to clean up his messes more times than not. Will things turn around for the Broncos? While this game against the Buccaneers was far from the elite showing that Broncos fans are still patiently waiting on their rookie quarterback, it was definitely an improvement. As previously stated, Nix does not have to play hero ball for the Broncos to win games. Against most teams, if he cannot turn the ball over, get the team into field goal range on a few possessions, and lead them to maybe 1 touchdown, it will be more than enough wiggle room for the Denver defense to ensure they come out of the game with a win. It is clear that it is still going to take some time for Nix to adjust to playing against NFL-caliber defenses. However, it appears that the Broncos coaching staff are more than ready to embrace the rebuild and give him all the time he needs to attempt to develop into the player that they believe he can be. This is something that is especially easy when head coach Sean Payton was signed to a long-term mega deal. Last season, the writing was on the wall that things for the team were trending in the direction of being a full-on rebuild. While this may not be news that Denver fans want to hear, the fact of the matter is they share a division with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Even if they went for broke and attempted to make a Super Bowl push with Russell Wilson in the 2024 season, it likely would not have gotten them far. What does the future hold for Bo Nix? It will be very interesting to see how Nix will be able to continue to develop and improve as the season tears along. It is still very clear that he is a raw talent, and it is crucial that the Broncos continue to give him the game reps that he needs to turn into a hopeful franchise quarterback. We have seen countless quarterbacks who had uglier starts to their careers turn into elite talents, and there is no reason why this cannot happen for Nix too.